Hi, I'm Rochelle from Originally Worn, and today I'm going to show you how to paint your laminate countertops. I'll be using Annie Sloan chalk paint and General Finishes top coat. I'm going to show you on a little sample of a piece of laminate, but it is the same concept as you'll use on your own laminate countertops. Hope you enjoy. To start your process, you're going to want to clean your countertops really well and then rinse any of the cleaner off. I like to clean mine with dish soap, hot water, and vinegar, and then rinse well. You can also give them a light sanding before you clean if you would like. We're gonna first put our first color down as Annie Sloan Graphite. Whatever your main color is that you want, whether that be gray, white, blue, whatever you want as your main background color, do a all over layer of that one first. Oop, this thing keeps moving. And we're gonna let that dry. Once your first layer is dry, you're gonna go back and you're going to need a sea sponge. This is a very little one because we're working on a little surface. They come in all different sizes. They come in rollers. And then you're gonna need to put at least 2 other colors and your main color. So there's my graphite in Annie Sloan, and then I have Honfleur, Olive, and Paloma actually, which has a hint of purple to it, but I think it'll be cool in here. A lot of times when people want to do kind of these sea sponge techniques, they want to do one color at a time and layer, layer, layer. But if you do them all at the same time, you can mush the colors together and get a lot more variations in there. So you can use one sponge for all the colors, and you'll kind of go and take a little bits of colors and work them how you like. And it's very much of a play in the eye thing, but see how because of the green and the brown are both wet at the same time, that they kind of make their color of their own. So we might throw a little bit of green in here. And this is traditionally kind of to look like a lot of maybe that speckly granite is. Now, you can also do like some feathering or some veining within this afterwards. This is just the very basic technique to change the color a lot of the countertops. So then we maybe take a teeny bit of this light color and kind of go in there, give it some more dimension. And if you can find like a countertop, you know, online or in a shop at the store that you want to mimic, that's great. You know, pull a couple colors off of it. But you can see why you don't need, see how this first undercoat is kind of streaky? That's okay, because we're going to kind of go on top of it so much over and over again that you don't need a perfect undercoat. But overall, this was a dark looking countertop, so we started with the graphite first. You can certainly start with a gray or a white first and have a lighter colored countertop, even if you use 10 different colors. I would say it's probably good to use at least one main color and then one color that's lighter and one color that's darker in value. And that should, when you do this wet blending technique, that should allow you to make, you know, every shade in between all of that. If you were to use all light colors, it might turn out really cool too. You won't have quite as big of, you know, the differentiation there of the different tones, but that might be what you want. It's all about playing. You can order these little 8x8 samples of countertops off of like a home improvement store, or they sometimes are a little bit different size than 8x8. I think 8x8 is from Menards. But certainly I would advise getting ones like that. Doesn't matter what color shade that you buy it in. I think they cost like 25 cents, something cheap like that. It's just a good place to kind of get your technique down, get your colors down that you like without going on your actual countertop. Of course, at the same time, it is just paint. If in the end you want to, you know, redo it, you can just throw more paint on top. You also can sand it, by God, if you got 18 layers on there. It's so easy to sand this Annie Sloan paint before it gets, you know, with a top coat on it, before it gets really hard. The more kind of layers you mush on this is all kind of depending on what you want, your depth. You can stop and come back and let it dry and go back on top if you want. It's not gonna hurt anything at all. It's just purely, you know, a lot of times people think they have to do it in those little layers. It actually works just fine to do it all in these separate. So I kind of wanted a muddy, earth tony look. And then of course you could, so you have that, you could let it dry. You could also take some little brushes or some feathers and do some more detailed little drawing here, and I'll show you what I mean. If you're wanting to, you know, like take a little brush with a teeny bit of paint, and if you kind of put some lines through it, this is if you're not wanting just a solid thing like that, and put some more paint in some areas coming in a little bit of a different direction. I know that looks kind of crazy. Bear with me here. I'll do it just on this half side here. Get some starker piles of paint in a way. And then you still want to blend them out a little bit, but they might have more of how they kind of go in that spot. So you can see how there's got these like bigger areas of a darker instead of completely blended. Purely up to you what you like. It also depends on what color you use, whether this is a good thing or not. It's kind of how they, you can do some marbling, mimicking that way with some lines. A feather works really great for that too. Let's add a little bit more green over here. And see, you can just keep playing and keep layering. We could have stopped a couple minutes ago and we could keep going. It's kind of the fun of it. So after you get all of your design done that you like, let it dry good. If you're using a water-based top coat, which we'll go over all the top coats here in a second, but using a water-based top coat, you're gonna want to wait for this to dry for just like probably 12 hours. If you're using an oil-based top coat, you're gonna need to let that dry 3 days or 72 hours. Okay, so let's say your countertops are good and dry. Then let's talk what you're going to top coat them with. This is an epoxy resin top coat. This is a brand I really like, although when you do an epoxy resin, it is probably the most durable, and it can be used over whites and light colors and dark colors. It is by far the most expensive, the hardest to do, and the messiest. But this one is heat resistant and waterproof. So if you can pull it off, this is probably the best one to do on your countertops. The only other thing being, it usually is a high gloss. So if you do not want a high gloss, there are other options. This next one is a General Finishes oil-based Armor Seal. This comes in satin, semi-gloss, and gloss. This is a urethane. Any oil-based products are urethanes, and they'll have an amberine tone to whatever you put over it. So you do not want to put this one over a light or white color, because it will give you kind of a yellow amber hue to it, unless that's what you want, of course. Oil-based is still a little bit more durable in water-based, although that point can be debated here or there. That's what I'm going with. It's still not as foolproof as this epoxy resin, but it should hold up really well. There is also, I don't have it with me now, I don't usually use it, one that's a little bit more durable than this. It's an oil base called spar urethane or marine varnish. It is supposed to be waterproof in itself too. Let's say you're gonna talk though water-based products. These are the two water-based products that I would use whether doing the countertop. None of these are food safe. I don't believe I say that. I know these two are not. This might be, but I'm not 100% sure on to tell you that. Either of the water-based products do seal and work really well. And of course they can be put over whites and they will not amber your tones. The only problem with them putting them over darks is that they can tend to make like a water spot that is a white haze. So if you have a light color, that really isn't a problem. But if you put either of these over top of a dark color, like the one we did earlier in this video, and you get standing water on it, it's probably gonna leave a white haze in that area. Not all the time, but it could. Of course, water-based, you know, is easier to clean up. I think it's easier to put on, but I don't think it's quite as sustainable long-term on your countertops as these two are. Of course, I like the Annie Sloan lacquer and I like the General Finishes High Performance Top Coat. Lacquer comes in matte sheen and the High Performance Top Coat comes in flat satin, semi-gloss, and gloss. So depending on those options, it would be what you would put your top coat on your countertops. Also depending on who's in your home, what countertop is in this area. I've known people to do things that are not recommended, like wax their island countertops or something like that. But they're two adults and they know how to take care of it. You know, if you have a house full of crazy teenage boys, you know, you might want to go with something like this epoxy resin because it's going to hold up the best. So I hope that helps. Also, let me know if you have any questions. I'm sure there's people out there that have a lot more knowledge in this top coat world than I do. These are just what I use and what I like. Hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like and share it with your friends and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also find us on Facebook and online at originallywornonline.com. Happy painting!